Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to rise on behalf of the proud Canadians in the welcoming riding of Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke. If anyone is curious about the history of immigration in Canada, they need only drive up the Ottawa Valley. Leaving behind our Indigenous name capital city and the suburbs with English and French names, you're beginning to see the Scottish influence in places like McNabb. Then come the Irish names, such as Shamrock and Mount St. Patrick, followed by the Kashubian names in Wilno. Continue to drive, and you can join Oktoberfest in Pembroke with German Schnitzel. Then stop in Petawawa for authentic Lebanese cuisine, or celebrate Diwali in Deep River. This journey is more than scenic. It's a living testament to the resilience of those who chose Canada as their home. Each community tells a story of migration, settlement, and contribution. Successive waves of people came to Canada, built communities, and enriched our nation. They brought with them traditions, languages, and values that have become a part of our national fabric. Canadians were proud of our welcoming immigration system. It was a system built on fairness, compassion, and a shared commitment to building a better future. Then the Liberal Party broke it. Some have accused the Liberals of breaking immigration for electoral reasons. But given the recent election results with elbows up and nativists flocking to the Liberal banner and new Canadians tired of having their cars stolen and businesses burned down rush to our party, that theory doesn't hold up well. No, the real reason the Liberals broke our immigration system is because they broke our economy. After strangling our resource economy with red tape and regulation, GDP began to decline. So they made the decision to goose the stats by importing growth. It was a textbook Trudeau policy. It looked progressive on the surface, but underneath it was a system of exploitation designed to inflate GDP numbers and home prices. This approach ignored the long-term consequences. It placed pressure on housing, infrastructure, and social services. It created divisions in communities and undermined public confidence. Now the Liberals want to continue this decade-long effort to undermine our system by granting citizenship to great-grandchildren of those who left this country decades ago. They claim it's about fairness and inclusion, but fairness must be balanced with responsibility. Citizenship is not a souvenir. It's a commitment to Canada. It's a pledge to uphold our laws, respect our institutions, and contribute to our society. The Liberals' version of the bill allows citizenship to be passed on with minimal connection to Canada. That's not fairness, that's recklessness. It devalues the meaning of citizenship. It sends the message that the Canadian identity can be inherited without engagement. As Conservatives, we cannot sit by and watch the Liberals vandalize the integrity of Canadian citizenship. Canadians, in their wisdom, decided not to grant a majority mandate to an inexperienced rookie Prime Minister who just happens to be a citizen of 3 separate countries. This government must work through the legislative process, and it must respect that democratic process. Liberals cannot claim to defend Canadian citizenship while ignoring our parliamentary democracy. This government must adopt the bill as amended. Under our proposed changes, in order to gain citizenship, the parent must have a real connection to Canada by living here at least 3 years within a 5-year period. The Liberals want it to be 3 years across a lifetime. That's a loophole, not a standard. We've also proposed that to gain citizenship, applicants must have some proficiency in either English or French, be able to pass the citizenship test, and complete security screening. These are reasonable measures supported by a majority of committee members. They reflect the expectations of Canadians. They ensure new citizens are prepared to participate fully in our society. Our amendments introduce a substantial connection test. The parent must have lived in Canada for 1,095 days before the child's birth or adoption. This ensures that citizenship is passed on by those who have truly lived here. It's not enough to have visited Canada decades ago. Citizenship must reflect a real and recent connection. We also require language proficiency. And this isn't a barrier, it's a bridge to integration. It helps newcomers succeed in school, work, and civic life. We require a citizenship test. This ensures that citizens understand our values and institutions. It fosters a sense of belonging and shared purpose. We require security screening. This protects Canadians from those who may pose a threat. It's a basic safeguard in any responsible immigration system. These are not radical ideas, they're common sense. They're supported by a majority of committee members. They're supported by Canadians across this country. Unfortunately, it looks like the Socialist Coalition is back. After Canadians rightly punished the NDP for propping up a long-despised government, they lost party status. Now the Socialists are cooking up a backroom deal to keep the investment banker in power. They want to roll back our common sense amendments. They want to pass a bill that opens the door to instant citizenship. They want to ignore the lessons of history. They want to ignore the will of Canadians. We will not let that happen. We will stand up for the integrity of our citizenship laws. We will stand up for the values that unite us. What would this mean in practice? Well, let's look at Elon Musk. His mother was born in Canada. He was born in South Africa. Based on available reports, he spent just under 3 years in Canada between 1989 and 1992 before transferring to a university in the United States. Since then, he's fathered 14 children that we know of. 8 of those children were born to Canadian mothers. They're already Canadian citizens, regardless of what happens in this legislation. It's the other 6 children who are impacted by this bill. If our common sense amendments are rejected by the Liberal NDP coalition, Elon could secure citizenship for his children by vacationing in Canada for a few months. If he's already accumulated 3 years of residency in the last 40 years, all 6 children would be instant citizens the day this bill comes into effect. It should warm the hearts of Canadians to know the NDP is fighting for the rights of billionaire Nepo babies. According to the Parliamentary Budget Officer, the Musk kids would be joined by 150,000 other instant Canadians. This is not a hypothetical scenario. It's a real and immediate consequence. It's a policy failure waiting to happen. The Ontario Superior Court ruled in 2023 that the first-generation limit was unconstitutional. The Liberals refused to appeal the decision. Instead, Bill C-3 is their response. The bill removes the first-generation limit on citizenship by descent. It also restores citizenship to lost Canadians who were excluded due to outdated laws or administrative errors. We support restoring fairness to those who are wrongly excluded, but we must not create new problems in the process. The government's approach is to expand access without ensuring accountability. This Liberal approach has real-world consequences. When Liberals undermine our faith in our immigration system and Canadian citizenship is eroded, it erodes our sense of solidarity. It undermines trust. Not just trust in the system, but trust in one another. Societies high in trust are low in crime and chaos. We used to be that society. We used to be a haven in a dangerous world. We can be the beacon of hope once again. All it takes is for the Liberal Party to listen to what Canadians are saying. Work with us to fix the system. We believe in a system that rewards genuine connection and commitment. We believe in a system that reflects the values of Canadians. We believe in a system that respects our democracy. Citizenship is not a gift to be handed out lightly. It's a bond between the individual and the nation. It must be earned. It must be respected. It must be protected. That's what our amendments will do. That is what Canadians expect. That is what we will deliver. Thank you.
Questions and comments. Questions et commentaires. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And you know, it's interesting listening to members opposite when they reference the issue of not why it is there's amendments and how they were in committee, and she makes reference specifically to a so-called coalition that does not exist. The only coalition that I've seen on this legislation is the unholy coalition of the Bloc and the Conservatives. And yes, they were able to use their coalition to make some amendments. Now, the issue is that would the member not agree that if a majority of the House of Commons, which would include other political entities, do not support those amendments, that they do have the right to defeat them.
Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke.
The point of this debate is we must have the people applying for Canadian citizenship must have an established connection to Canada. That is the basis on which we are debating and improve the bill by amending it with those allegations. So, with no further ado, we should get this bill passed with amendments, not without.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Rimouski Nejet Témiscouata. Mr. Speaker, I listened to my colleague's speech. It's quite absurd what's happening in the House today. The government has decided to sweep aside all of the committee's work. They say they're transparent and democratic and they respect the opposition, but that's not how things work, Mr. Speaker. When you take the resources of the House paid for by taxpayers to do our work in committee, and then for ideological reasons, the government just tosses all that work aside. So one would have thought that this government would try to build bridges in a minority setting, but once again, there's a party that's willing to support them in this. I'd like my colleague to talk about the fact that the government is repeating what they've done in recent years with NDP support, and they're not respecting the will of the committees and the work of committees and the voice of this House. The honourable member for Renfrew.
Well, my colleague is absolutely right. We will vote with the block on a case-by-case basis, or with the government if we feel that the legislation warrants it. But what they have reestablished is that NDP Liberal coalition so that they can pass anything they want, regardless of what the rest of the House deems proper.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. The member for Edmonton West.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for her excellent speech today. We've seen through the years the Liberals debase our immigration and citizenship, whether it's flooding the country with foreign students, allowing criminals, being lax on criminals being allowed into the country. I wonder what she thinks of the Liberal stance on C3 and how it devalues the overall value of being a Canadian.
The honourable member for Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke.
Thank you. I believe that is what my speech was all about, having a value to citizenship, not something that you buy from some consultant who has no scruples. It's something that you earn and you work for. My grandparents and my mother came from Holland, and it took studying and learning the language, and they were quite proud to finally be accepted as Canadians. The rest of Canadians who want to be Canadians should be too.
Questions and comments? Question et commentaires. The member for Victoria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to the member for her statement today. The honourable member correctly noted in her speech that high-trust societies are typically more safe and more prosperous. They are indeed the type of societies that work the best and that Canada should, and we all in this chamber, should aspire to be. I wonder if the member would comment on whether or not she thinks it contributes to producing a high-trust society in Canada to support groups of people who blockade the national capital and call for the overthrow of the federal government. Does lying and calling for the incarceration of former prime ministers increase trust in our society? Does calling law enforcement and the leadership of the RCMP despicable increase trust in Canadian society, Mr. Speaker?
Member for Algonquin, Renfrew, Pembroke.
Okay, and here we have somebody who asked to defund the police, including the former Prime Minister. What we are promoting in our amendments is that there be a security check, a background check, to make sure that we're not having people who've committed crimes in other countries that will be coming into Canada and automatically becoming Canadians.